Hello and welcome everybody to What's Next. It's the Indy NXT Oval Series taken under the lights here from Myrtle Beach Speedway. And I'm here with Sophie Connell, and we're here to witness 100 laps of some proper short track action here in Indy NXT competition for the very first time. What are you thinking here, Sophie?
Well, this is unfortunately no longer with a short track, but it is a storied track. It is all of the Petties have raced here. Every generation of Earnhardt has raced here. They have cut their teeth on this mostly flat, kind of oddly shaped short track that is incredibly fun. It's going to be multi-groove racing, and there's going to be tire management involved, Jacob. So there's going to be a lot to talk about.
Yeah, certainly tire management will be a big factor. A very physical race. Both you and I turned a number of laps here as lead up to this race and found that you run about maybe a dozen, 2 dozen laps around here, and you look over and are like, is this thing over yet? And you've still got another 75 laps to go to make it to the end of this race here tonight. So we're going to have to see these drivers, all 15 of them, conquer the half-mile track from the Carolinas. We're going to go out with Chris Fletcher as he gets ready for his qualifying run. We'll ride on board with him in the number 4 machine tonight. All orange for him, and he'll show us just how difficult it is to get this car around here, especially early on in the going on cold tires.
Yeah, and you'll notice there's some interesting aspects on that pit exit there. You'll see those little, like, round, bumbly things there. Those can really mess your car up if you accidentally touch them. I have made that mistake many a time here, and it can definitely mess up your suspension, definitely send you up into the outside wall and end your night. So be curious to see if we see that during the night. But for the most part, it seems the high and middle seem to be the preferred line, so hopefully people manage to avoid that.
Yeah, the biggest thing I noticed testing out here this week was that the exit of turn 2 on that low line, very, very difficult to unfurl the wheel fast enough without having too much gas in it to prevent yourself from spinning. As we watch Chris Fletcher put up provisionally the 3rd best time on the board. Taylor Thurman goes to the top with a 15.477. We'll see if anybody's got anything for Mr. Thurman. As Dylan Wylazinski's taken to the track, the many-time winner here in Indy NXT competition. We'll ride outboard with him as he takes to the track for his qualifying run with 3 minutes left to go. And so far, there's been 2 official races so far here at Myrtle Beach this week, and Wylazinski's won both, so he's putting in the work to show why he'll be very much deserving of a title bid this season, making sure he gets as many laps in as possible. We'll see as he lay down the qualifying run here where that's going to put him to line up here for the main event tonight.
Yeah, and I had the privilege of getting to see one of the last races run on this facility. It was an experience. It was certainly memorable. I happened to be in Myrtle Beach at the time. It was good to see some short track racing. I'm hoping to see a race just as exciting right here with these Indy NXT cars.
Wylazinski falls just short of the pole. 15 thousandths the margin between himself and Taylor Thurman. We'll see. We have seen a couple times here in Indy NXT competition that the pole isn't necessarily the advantage it may be at some of these tracks, particularly ones like this where we see the upper grooves of the track lay dominant. And we've got ourselves the grid ready to go, and we'll run you through it as we get ready for 100 laps here from Myrtle Beach. So it will be Taylor Thurman starting on the pole. I believe that's his first pole here in Indy NXT competition. Props to him. We know they've got fans in the chat already chiming in, rooting him on. We'll watch, see if he is able to capitalize on his positioning so far here tonight. Kevin Crotty will roll off in 3rd. We've got Dylan Wylazinski here on camera in the 3rd spot. Crotty chimed in late, getting his time in with a 15.480, 3 thousandths off the pole time. Steven Leinhard will line up 4th as our 15 machine here tonight. Chris Fletcher, who we rode on board with in qualifying, will line up 5th alongside Jari Brubaker in the 6th spot. Clay Kirkebauer will line up 7th alongside Ryan A. Brown, who appeared on the podium last week at Phoenix. John Corwin, making another appearance on the Indy NXT Oval Series broadcast, will line up 9th alongside reigning series champion Indy Kirkebauer in the 10th spot. Cornell Berschenbacher, making a debut appearance, I do believe, will line up 11th alongside Jason Goodman in the 12th spot. Jeremy Sisko will line up 13th alongside Gary Yost the third. And Crash Neon will round out the field, I believe the debut winner in this series on the top split. He'll start from the tail end of the field here tonight. And we will get ready to go for 100, count them 100, laps here for Myrtle Beach. Very physical track. Drivers are going to have their patience, their bodies, their mental, everything about them are going to be put to the test here as they tackle 50 miles, only 50 miles. But it's going to be very quick reactions required to make it around here. We talked about tire wear. We're going to see it very, very quickly. It takes about a dozen or so laps for those tires to really get fully up to speed around here. But once they get up there, they're going to get up to speed real quick and start falling off very, very quickly. And that tire management is going to play a huge factor here tonight.
For sure, and it's going to be a key thing to manage all of the INDYCAR tools that are available to you, which in the Indy NXT is a lot less than the Dallara IL-15. There is no weight jacker, so they're going to be having to move those sway bars, those ARBs, around to try and make the car do what they want it to do, and possibly try and save their right rear tire. Only problem is there's not that many straightaways, and you can only change those in the straightaways, so don't really have a lot of time to catch your breath and make an adjustment to your car if you feel you need it, Jacob.
Yeah, that's certainly going to be the case. I feel that drivers are going to have to maybe make some decisions here that they haven't had to make a ton in previous weeks. You know, we see a lot of drivers kind of get up through those ARB adjustments relatively quickly and kind of set them and forget them. I don't think that they're going to necessarily be able to get away with that here tonight, just given how fast that tire wear is. But the pace car is off. We're ready to go for 100 laps. Thurman's going to get a good jump, and we're going under green, under the lights here in Myrtle Beach.
Green.
We're underway. Thurman just immediately going to the point. Wylazinski seems to have almost cleared Kevin Karate, but Karate is fighting back on the high side.
Yeah, still 2x2. Wylazinski clears him down the front straightaway here. We'll see if he can start garnering some momentum to get closer to Thurman at the point. Field stayed relatively close together so far. You see Andy Kirkenbauer running in the 5th spot, working on Ryan Brown there for 4th. Kirkenbauer is going to take the inside here, heading off into turn number 1. And they're the first battle that remains 2x2 on the track. Thurman will go purple. 15.480. That'll probably drop a couple tenths as those tires get up to temp, but we'll keep an eye on that over the course of the opening stint. We're under yellow.
We have a caution already, and I was actually about to mention we already had our first retirement of sorts. Jari Ropenbacher there seems to have been having network troubles before the start. We'll try to see what's caused the actual caution here.
Looks like Clay Kirkenbauer's spun around and gotten back going. We'll see if any contact was involved for that incident. Get back on the replay here. So we're heading off into turn 3. 3 wide. He's stuck in the middle. I believe that's going to be the 10 machine of Corwin on the inside. Contact is made. He's going to slide up. Car on the outside, the 8 machine of, I believe that's Jason Goodman, just barely going to make it on through there. I don't believe Clay hits the wall with the back of the car, so he might be okay here. Might still want to come down the pit lane nonetheless just to make sure he gets anything put back together that needs to be, but certainly a close call.
Yeah, I don't see him coming down the pit lane. If he doesn't have damage, there's really not much you can do. If the iRacing Spider's telling you no damage, car looks clean, and well, that's all you got, because there are no tires. Everyone here, the tires they start on, those Firestones have to carry them the entire distance. And that spin is not going to help Clay Kirkenbauer accomplish that goal.
No, so very quick yellow here early on, working now lap number 7 towards lap number 8. We'll give drivers an opportunity to reset. We'll see our first single file restart here, and that's going to be an interesting thing here, right? As we've got the cars lined up single file, that means they're going to potentially spread out slightly quicker. And you know what they say about these short tracks is you catch the back of the field very, very quickly. That may play a factor in the later stages should we get a long green flag run through the rest of this race.
For sure, and we're about to go back to green. The lights are out on the pace car already, it seems. I don't see the lights on the pace car. But if I'm Taylor Thurman, I'm hoping that we don't get the green flag run, purely because the biggest advantage he has right now is he has that clean air, and that's going to keep those Firestones alive.
Well, not only that, but he gets the opportunity to set up any additional restarts, right? That plays a huge, huge factor. We've seen that week in and week out here, especially on these shorter tracks where ultimately if you could stay ahead and kind of control lanes, as we saw last week with Wylazinski at Phoenix, you could do a lot. You know, even if the field's able to catch up to you, if you can kind of work those cars behind you, they kind of have to play, you know, behind the Pied Piper, if you will. But we'll see as the lights are now finally out on the pace car. We're going to get back going green here, heading on to lap number 10, and we'll see who's got anything for Taylor Thurman, our pole sitter here tonight. They're going to roll into turn number 3. When does he opt to go? Looks like just past the scoreboard. There we go.
Green flag, green flag.
Yeah, it looks like Kevin Crotty got a dismal start. Big gap forms between him and Wylazinski, and he already has a car underneath. I believe that's Ryan Brown. But Crotty manages to fend them off.
Yeah, we've got battles for the lead now. Wylazinski looking to the inside on Thurman. We'll see if he's able to roll steady here. Big moment there off of turn 2. We talked about it. There it is. Very difficult to unfurl the wheel on the bottom. That's going to let Thurman get away and put Wylazinski under fire from Kevin Crotty. He'll fall in the clutches of Ryan Brown now and have to fight his way back ahead to get back into the second spot.
Yeah, and that's kind of the advantage you have as the leaders. You get to pick your line, and if you know that pinching the bottom is going to be really difficult for that second car to accomplish, I would be forcing everyone down there every time if I could.
Yeah, you see Indy now working on the inside of Ryan Brown. He thinks better of it heading into turns 3 and 4 here. Wylazinski's starting to gain a bit more momentum now. He's got his car back underneath of him, but Taylor Thurman has gotten away from the rest of the field here, nearly a second already built up for him over Kevin Crotty.
Yeah, the field beginning to form into single file here, but we do see some potential excitement here with Indy Kirkwood in the 5th spot, right on the gearbox of Ryan Brown. Now, in the previous couple of weeks, Indy had not been happy with some moves Ryan has put on, so it should be interesting to see if the sparks fly once more between these two.
Yeah, Brown stayed committed to the bottom this time. Kirkenbauer is going to get alongside on the outside heading into turn number 1. We'll see if he's able to hold that momentum heading off down the backstretch here, working down towards 3 and 4. He'll clear just barely, but they're going to stay side by side into 3. Brown awfully close on that inside lane, but Kirkenbauer will get the spot. He moves up to 4th. We'll see if he can start working his way towards the podium finish here tonight.
Yeah, Wylazinski is making looks at Kevin Crotty. Not quite able to build the momentum to get alongside to get the kind of run he needs. But Wylazinski is going to be desperate to get around because it's quite clear the current championship leader is faster than Kevin Crotty.
And that's the very, very difficult nature of short track racing, especially we don't have the typical advantages that you'll often see in short track racing of things like bumpers and fenders. We have wings, we have a good amount of downforce to get through the corners fairly quickly. But the very, very difficult thing will be, can you make moves without having to get the argy-bargy sticks out? And Wylazinski continues to have to try to hunt for where he's going to be able to build that momentum to make the pass on Kevin Crotty for the second spot.
Yeah, to quote one of my teammates, Jared Wakefield, open wheel racing is a contact sport, but only once.
That indeed it is. We'll run through the rest of the we'll run through the rest of the field while we're kind of waiting for something to happen here. Wylazinski starting to mount the charge once more on Kevin Crotty. Kirkenbauer of the Indy variety, the prodigy, he'll run in 4th. Chris Fletcher is about a second back of him. You've got the likes of Ryan Brown behind him running 6th. John Corwin runs 7th. Steve Lionheart, he's worked his way back to the 8th spot. Jason Goodman runs in 9th. Crash Neon, after starting 15th, up to 10th, so he's on the move. Cornell Berschenbacher, he runs in 11th, ahead of Jeremy Siska in 12th. Clay Kirkwood remains on the course at speed following that spin early on, and Gary Yost, 14th, is the 14th runner here tonight on the broadcast. And we'll head back up to the front of the field, as I think that we're going to start to see people get those tires starting to fall away ever so slightly now.
Yeah, and if I'm Taylor Thurman, I am very, very happy because, again, he is slowly pulling away from Kevin Crotty, while also the fact that Dylan Wylazinski, they're having to burn up those Firestones to try and make that move. They're not going to be able to arc the corner the way they want to. They're going to have to deal with dirty air. And so even if Wylazinski does get around Kevin Crotty, it's going to be interesting to see if he's able to mount the charge.
Yeah, certainly looks like Crotty is struggling now on that higher lane. Wylazinski's been able to build a good bit of momentum, about a quarter or a half lane down off of him through the corner. Gap's now just 2/10 between these two. He's going to try to stay just off of the inside of Mr. Crotty to try to gain that little bit more momentum, and he's slowly working his way forward. He'll look to the bottom in 1 and 2 here, looking to make that move for P2.
Yes, and another thing to keep in mind, I have been paying attention to this. The gap between Gary Yost in the number 7 car in 14th and Taylor Thurman, our leader, is shrinking to only 2.3 seconds, Jacob. Taylor Thurman's going to having to deal with at least some lap traffic in a short bit of time.
Yeah, we've got the interval back up on screen. Yost is about 12.5 seconds back, and a lap around here is only about 15, so he's getting closer to the front nose of Taylor Thurman. Wylazinski last time by managed to make it by Crotty through turn 2. It was a very much a slide job maneuver between the two drivers to kind of negotiate that, but Wylazinski's going to start working his way forward. We'll see if he can maybe take advantage of that pending lap traffic situation for Mr. Thurman, as we haven't even reached the halfway mark yet.
No, and one of the things was I did maybe about 20 laps and my shoulder was just like, oh no, I don't want to do this anymore. And I cannot imagine what it's like to be a Taylor Thurman, to be a Dylan Wylazinski, just having to do that. Watch those laps slowly tick down as we are working lap 33, lap 34, and to know you got 60 more of these.
Yeah, we're riding on board with Taylor Thurman here. You can see Gary Yost off in the distance there, just about crossing the start-finish line as Thurman gets off of turn number 4. That gap hasn't increased too terribly much since we discussed it. Still about 12.5 seconds the distance.
But Wylazinski is coming 0.3 behind Taylor Thurman. The second Wylazinski cleared Kevin Crotty, he said goodbye to the Canadian, and it's now all over Taylor Thurman. So, should be interesting to see how that shakes out as the gap, Gary Yost is starting to pull away from Thurman. Possibly Thurman used up all their tires trying to maintain that gap to Crotty.
Yeah, Wylazinski's covered about half the gap that we saw just laps ago. He's now within 3/4 of a second of Thurman for the lead here. We'll see if he can continue that charge as we approach closer and closer to that halfway mark. And that's really where we're going to see who managed to hold on to their tires the best. From what I had experienced myself, you get it around laps 50, 60, 70, and if you did not take care of those Firestone tires, you will not have any Firestone tire left to give the last quarter of this race.
Yeah, one of the things that I'm also paying attention now, Gary Yost is starting to fall back. 1.7 seconds between Gary Yost and Taylor Thurman. Yost is going to be feeding dirty air to Caleb, or sorry, not Caleb, Taylor Thurman. I don't know where Caleb came from, but he's going to be feeding dirty air to Thurman, and that is going to make, if Taylor Thurman was rough on their tires, it's going to make that situation worse, and also help bring Taylor into the clutches of Dylan Wylazinski even more.
Yeah, gap just over half a second. Kind of builds up as they exit the corner and kind of contracts, heading off into the corners. So we'll see as that gap continues to fall about a half second, that time into 3 and 4. We're under
we have a yellow.
Clay Kirkwood in the wall once more. Not sure if he got help or if he's all on his lonesome. We'll get the replay queued up as soon as he's able to get that car rolling. So we will run the replay here. Oh, I think he got some help. So here we come off turn number 4. We're working the front straightaway here. Not quite sure.
And it's the 10 car again. These two have magnets to each other.
Yeah, John Corwin contact with Clay Kirkenbauer. And that'll send him around off of turn number 2. I believe that's going to be Corwin fading down the track after the maneuver. And we will see if Clay is able to make a recovery drive here, as I think he nosed into the outside wall there. Already 1 lap down. We'll see where he ends up. He's opting to head down the pit lane, likely with some damage, at least on the front of that IL-15. And that'll do it.
Yeah, it's not missing the front wing, but has just a little bit of scuffing. So we should see Clay Kirkenbauer back out. Yep, he has a fresh new nose. We'll be back out there, but like you said, lap down.
Yeah, we'll hear Kirkenbauer shift through the gears and head off the pit lane here. He may wind up potentially 2 down depending on where he managed to get out of the pit lane. We'll see as the race progresses. So just under the halfway mark here, and I think the big thing we're going to see this time around is I think Wylazinski's going to have to be that little bit more patient than he was that initial run. We saw him very early make that slip up off of turn 2 that we kind of talked about was a big possibility, working that low lane. I think he's going to have to play it smarter this time around, or I don't know if he's going to get too many more opportunities to make that pass for the lead on Taylor Thurman. It's been close. He's been closing that gap, but I don't think you can afford to give yourself a back foot drop like he did with the earlier mistake.
No, and we saw how many laps he was stuck desperately trying to get past the machine of Kevin Crotty. You can hold people off pretty easily. As we see the lights coming out on the pace car, 1 more lap to green here at Myrtle Beach Speedway. Yeah, actually, the pace car is ducking in.
Yeah, pace car's pulling off. Thurman will get control of the field. He's opted to go way earlier than the last time. He's accelerating before turn number 3, but Wylazinski's ready for it. He's there. We'll see if Thurman's able to hold him off as we get closer to halfway here. Crotty looking on the high side. We might have a 3-car battle for the lead if everything's going the way it's going to go.
Yeah, that was definitely very aggressive from Taylor Thurman, but Dylan Wylazinski matched it and was right on the gearbox despite the little cheeky move there. Much like last week at Phoenix, you can really launch early here as Wylazinski does get alongside on the low side, managed to hold it. But Taylor Thurman is really throwing it in the corner. Will be interesting to see how those Firestones cope with that over the course of the race as we're approaching the halfway point.
We're approaching the halfway point. You can see just ahead here, Clay Kirkenbauer is just ahead of this field here. We'll see if he opts to let the leaders on through. He's opting to try to hang as low as he dares. Gonna go high here, stay out of the leader's way. Thurman maintains the lead. You're going to have Indy Kirkenbauer rather looking to the inside of Kevin Crotty for the 3rd spot. That doesn't muster into anything just yet. They'll be battling for the bottom step of the podium here, but we'll go back to the battle for the lead between Wylazinski and Thurman. Thurman's just been controlling that upper lane of the track on both ends of the speedway, you know, kind of right below that double dash or the dashed line on the outer edge of the track, and that's been able to do him a good bit of favors as he's starting to slowly inch away from Wylazinski trying to work that low lane.
Yeah, it seems the top lane has been the faster lane as the track has evolved here, and of course overtaking is even more difficult here as we have another yellow.
Let's see. It's Clay Kirkenbauer once more. He's lost the rear wing this time. That might be night over for him. He's going to opt to tow it. Meatball flag in the air for him. We'll see if we can figure out what happened to Clay this time around. He's backwards here. We're heading off into, I believe this is turn 1 and 2.
And is it again?
I think so.
It is. If I had a nickel for every time the 10 car and Clay Kirkenbauer have touched, I'd have 3 nickels. But that's a weird coincidence.
We're going to have to get the Patrick has $3 reference out once more. I have $3. They have definitely met bumper to bumper a number of times here tonight. Unfortunate break once more for Clay Kirkenbauer as he is likely out of this event for good. Multiple laps down, but definitely done for the night with that rear end damage on his IL-15. Talk about we got ourselves some short track tempers, I'm sure.
Yeah, as Denny Hamlin would say, that's short track racing.
Well, we have made it past halfway. That is the third yellow of the race. I hope that we can stay on the low end of the number of yellows so far in a single race this week. This is the low end, 3. If we can keep it here, we'll get a nice 40-some-odd lap run to the end, and I think that'll be some magical things for the audience here tonight. Do want to thank everybody for tuning in tonight. Taylor Thurman fans coming out strong once again. We will catch you later on this evening for the, I believe I heard this correctly, it's the 20th season of Area 51. They'll have their first round of that 20th season from Homestead, Miami here tonight on the channel. Mark Murphy will be on the call for that. That'll start at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time. And then tomorrow night, we'll have the start of the Horizon IndyCar Series. Mark will once again be on the call for that at 8 p.m. Eastern Time from Michigan, alongside the Formula Indy Series, their season finale, I do believe, at Indianapolis. Or actually, that's their second to last round. My apologies. So, and then we'll be back Sunday night for the Votive Indy Derby. Pace car lights are off. The Votive Indy Derby's at 8 p.m. on Sunday night. I'll be there at Kentucky. We're under green. Thurman's ready to go once more. He's getting the launch even earlier than last time.
Green, green, green.
Yeah, it seems that Taylor has really been trying to game those restarts and push it as far as they can. But Wylazinski now has the high side. Thurman sends it deep in there, manages to make it stick, but Wylazinski has made the move. The championship leader has made the pass. They're leading the race.
And Indy Kirkwood clears Kevin Crotty for the third spot. We'll see if he can start maybe making a charge towards the rest of the podium here. He moves up to third. We'll see if he can catch on to Taylor Thurman. And I bet you Taylor's kicking himself for staying that low on the restart, because he knew just how dominant that high lane was. That's why he had been running it basically all night so far.
Yeah, and I just want to give a quick shout out to Indy Kirkwood. Has gone from 10th place on the grid plus 7 spots to be here on the podium. See if he can make that even better. As Dylan Wylazinski begins to check out. And I do have to wonder here, Jacob, you were saying that the tires really fall off around lap 50. I know we've had some caution, but seems to me the way Taylor Thurman was driving, really sending it deep in those corners while it was pulling the gap away from Wylazinski. Maybe it's possibly overheated those Firestones, as Indy Kirkwood, no, sorry, not Clay Kirkwood. Indy Kirkwood is now starting to take a look on Thurman.
Yeah, Indy's been the fastest car on the track these last couple laps. He'll slow up just a little bit as he tried to make that move on Taylor Thurman, but he's been running about a half or 3/4 to a full tenth faster than these two cars ahead of him. So if he can get by Thurman, I think we might have ourselves a battle between the two titans of the series so far, between Wylazinski and Kirkwood.
For sure, and Kirkwood has not had a lot of luck in these SOF races the last 2 weeks. So I'm sure he would be very thrilled, even with third place, but I'm sure he's still hungry for that second, possibly even stealing a win off Dylan Wylazinski.
Yeah, we've got Chris Fletcher making a pass for the 4th spot on Kevin Crotty. His teammate Dustin Bulgren chiming in the chat saying he wasn't able to make it due to family matters tonight, but he's rooting on his teammates in Chris Fletcher and John Corwin. John running in the 7th spot, as we're going to watch this battle for 4th just briefly here, as it's the closest thing on the speedway, and they've been side by side for the last couple laps here.
Yeah, it's been interesting to see how the track has developed here, Jacob. How the high line, how the low line have really panned out. We've seen people make moves mostly on the high side, but you can get it done on that low line. You just have to be really careful off the 2 as the track kind of rubbers in even more over the course of this race.
Yeah, we've seen the lane kind of shift up maybe about a quarter to a half lane from where it started. We're under yellow once more. That's going to be Cornell Birschenbacher. He's around on the backstretch. We'll see what happened to him. So we're heading into turns 1 and 2 here. He'll be looking on the low side. I believe this is going to be Crash Neon to his outside in that 3 machine. He's going to be running the low lane here, just on that dashed line. He's going to get loose off the corner, and once more, turn 2 rears its ugly head, and he's going to go around on the low side. I think he managed to stay out of the inside wall, maybe got into it with the right rear tire, but he may be good to go here for the rest of the running here tonight. He stays on the lead lap, I do believe, so he's got a shot at staying in this race following a fortunate spin to stay out of making hard contact with that inside wall.
Yeah, for sure. It's so easy to spin these IL-15s off the corner on these short tracks. The car is very torquey. It already is a junior Formula car, so it's going to be a lot very twitchy. Designed to teach people really how to find and test the limits here. And when you find the limit in the IL-15, you feel it, as I'm sure he did when he looped it around.
That certainly is the case. You know, they talk about drivers making their transition from karts to cars, and a lot of these Formula cars very much kind of stay close to those karting routes. They are very twitchy. You kind of got to dance them off the steering wheel more than anything else. Keep them loose as fast, as they say. And Jarrett Corey has chimed in with a curious question. A caution that wasn't Clay Kirkenbauer and John Corwin contact. Is that allowed? Seemingly it is, because we've got ourselves caution number 4 on the evening tonight. Glad to see Jarrett watching this one on. He, of course, the winner from last night's event from the Circuit de Barcelona, Catalunya. We'll catch him likely next week as the Indy NXT Road Series goes to Watkins Glen. Lights are out on the pace car. Wylazinski is going to get the first opportunity he has to control a restart here tonight, and we'll see what he opts to do, as we saw Thurman try a couple things as to when he opted to get this race back going.
Yeah, there's a lot of different things you could do as the pace car peels off. We'll see if Dylan Wylazinski just goes immediately, or seemingly be that Wylazinski is waiting. Yeah, they are. Wylazinski is holding it much longer. Now launches. Green flag is in the air.
And that gave Indy a good opportunity to look to the inside of Taylor Thurman. They're going to go side by side off turn 2. Kirkenbauer will hold on to it. We'll see if he can make something happen into turn 3. Oh! Crotty's around.
No.
Kevin Crotty's in the
And
wall.
that is. Yep, that is night done. That looks to be. Ooh. Well, let's get a replay here.
I think he makes contact with the outside wall. We'll back this up just a little bit more than the camera caught it to. So we've got them coming off turn 2 here. Go ahead.
I was going to say, it looks like there was some netcode contact, or just contact in general, with Ryan Brown. And then Ryan Brown just disappears from the service and ends up in pit lane with no front wing. I'm curious what you see, Jacob.
Yeah, it looks like there was initially some netcode contact between Chris Fletcher and Kevin Crotty, and then Ryan Brown kind of gets into the gap between them. And then Ryan, I don't know if maybe he got hit with the classic you fly over the outside wall and end up in the pit lane. We'll have to maybe ride on board with him through the replay here if we can get to it. So here he comes off of turn 2. We're on board with Ryan Brown. Here he comes. There's Crotty. He's going to make contact, fly up into the air, and I think that's what happened. I think the sim assumed he was leaving the racing course and put him in the pit lane, and that's likely going to put Ryan Brown out of this event multiple laps down as well. Unfortunate break for both of those drivers. They're having decent nights inside the top 5, top 10. You know, Chris Fletcher's running in 4th still, so they were going to be in for a good night if they could stay out there and wrap up the last quarter of this race.
Yeah, that was one of the strangest cautions. I just could not find the words to describe what I was seeing. I saw Ryan Brown get into it with Kevin Crotty there, and then just disappeared like they had mysterious netcode issues, as we're once again under caution, and the lights are out on the pace car. We'll see if Dylan Wylazinski waits as long as he did. That really favored Indy Kirkenbauer, but then Indy Kirkenbauer got forced low by Taylor Thurman, and Kirkenbauer actually was on those rumble strips we talked about. So we'll see how Wylazinski handles this restart, as he is tucked up against that outside wall.
Yeah, Wylazinski's been the most patient for the restarts that we've seen week in and week out. He's opted to try to go as late as he possibly can. We'll see if he tries to do that once more here. He's working off of turn number 4. He launches before that white line. Painted on the course there, and he'll be back going. We'll see what Indy Kirkenbauer does this time. He's higher up on the track this time. He's going to look to try to make the cut down low into turn 3 again.
Yeah, tried to set up a crossover move on Taylor Thurman, but Taylor Thurman just sends it deep into 3 and 4, try and make sure that he cleared the Prodigy.
Yeah, and we've got...
You see a lapped car.
Yeah, I believe that's Ryan Brown.
Coming back out.
Yeah, Brown's back out, so he must not have had any damage, potentially. Maybe he just had to take a tow there. But he'll stay on the low end.
It looked like just a front wing, which it does not take long to replace those, but he did have that tow, which puts him laps down.
Yeah, so he'll cycle to the back of the field, put him 5 down. That leaves Berschenbacher as the last car on the lead lap in 11th. We've got this battle for second here between Indy Kirkenbauer and Taylor Thurman. Thurman has it. Kirkenbauer wants it. He wants it bad. He's been looking for a good finish so far this season. He hasn't really had one in a number of weeks. Fortunate incidents ending a number of his great runs. He's looking to the inside again on Taylor Thurman off of turn 2. Not going to be able to stay alongside here. He'll look high in 3 and 4.
Yeah, it's so difficult to build those runs, to build that momentum as we see him go again to the low side here in turn 2. But we can see that Taylor Thurman can just get back into the throttle that little bit quicker on the high side and just has all of that momentum. So it's all that work just to get thrown away the second you try and run that lower line in 1 and 2, it seems.
Yeah, Thurman stays dedicated to that high lane. It's migrated further up the track. He's working the double dash line right on top of it, so it's moved about that quarter lane we were seeing earlier on for sure. And he's tried his darndest, but I'm not sure if he's going to be able to do anything without building up a bout of momentum on the high side himself. He'll look down low once more into 3 and 4, try to close that gap back up to Taylor Thurman for the second spot. He's inching his way back closer. We'll see if he can get another shot at it here with 15 to go.
Yeah. Yes, he's alongside just now, but one thing I also wanted to note, it seems to me that Taylor Thurman was inching a little bit closer to Dylan Wylezinski for a couple of laps there, possibly. He's running for his life from the Prodigy there.
Yeah, the gap between Wylezinski and Thurman, just over 3/4 of a second. They're battling hard for the second spot, though, which might give it to where Wylezinski is kind of just biding his time, right? We're seeing that gap close maybe on corner entry, build up on exit like we see every corner seemingly here tonight. But Indy's looking to the inside again, not going to be able to make the move this time around. He's going to come to 12 to go, still looking on that inside lane for everything it's got.
Yeah, and once again, we have to remember that all of this sending it in deep like that, all of this effort to pinch it low, that is just asking more and more of these Firestone tires. And so I'll be curious to see if one of these two drivers is overusing it and they possibly fall back into the clutches of a Chris Fletcher or a Jason Goodman.
Yeah, those drivers certainly not out of it in the slightest. Fletcher's only about a little over a second back running in 4th, and Goodman's only another second behind Fletcher. Kirkenbauer is going to look to the inside off turn 2. He's alongside this time. I think that's the furthest alongside he's gotten. Not going to be able to make the move stick on the inside once again. We'll see if he can make anything happen in these final 10 laps.
Yeah, it seems that it's just a matter of running out of time. It's just that top lane is so dominant. But Kirkenbauer is knocking on the door. But Dylan Wylezinski is just streaking away, as has been the story this year.
Indy just continues to try to look low every opportunity he does. He's going to get alongside here in turn 2 again. He's got his wing right about at the rear tire on the exit there, but still not enough to build up any sort of run into turn 3. I think he's got to be alongside all the way to the entry to the corner to make anything happen there.
Yes, Taylor Thurman covers the bottom there, possibly trying to feed Kirkenbauer some dirty air, try to unsettle him a little bit more.
Still the closest battle on the course is the battle here for second. 5 to go. They'll be coming to 4 to go this time around. Wylazinski's out to a 1-second lead over these two. The fighting has gotten more intense as the laps have clicked on.
As he's now alongside off the corner exit, but it looks like Thurman's going to once again clear onto the entry. This is just so frustrating as a driver. You're doing everything you can to just try and get around someone. You know that you're faster, you know you're there, but it's just, you can't get the momentum you need, and the person has just managed to find the right line to be fast enough to stay ahead.
Yeah, Indy will have 2 more laps to go here to try to get a shot at it. He'll be on the inside once again, heading off turn 2. See if he can build the momentum into 3 here. This is the closest I think he's been. He's still alongside. We'll see if he can build the momentum back into 1 and 2 once more. White flag in the air. Are we going to see some wheel bang into the line here? Kirkenbauer on the inside still. Thurman will clear. Wylazinski will win.
Yeah, Wylazinski will win, and Taylor Thurman will be second. Indy Kirkenbauer comes home third. Chris Fletcher fourth. Jason Goodman fifth. Crash Neon sixth. Steven Lombard in seventh. We have Gary Yost coming home in eighth after starting 14th on the grid. Jeremy Siska and Khalil Weschenbacher recovering from that spin to a 10th place finish. Ryan Brown had his troubles. John Corwin and Kevin Karate also had theirs. Clay Kirkenbauer and Jari Brofacher. Sorry if I'm butchering that name, is your finishing order. Sorry to steal your thunder there a little bit, Jacob. As we see Dylan Wylazinski burning it down here on the front stretch.
Yeah, burning it down he does. We've got your results once more on screen. We'll let that click through. As Dylan, I think he's trying to find his way to victory lane now. They do have that parked in the grass on the front stretch here, but Wylazinski will win over Thurman, Kirkenbauer, Fletcher, Goodman, Neon, Leonhard, Yost, Siska, Berschenbacher will stay on the lead lap in 10th. You got Ryan Brown 5 laps down in 11th. We saw him exit the course at a point in time. John Corwin, Kevin Crotty involved in incidents alongside Clay Kirkenbauer and Yarby Brubaker. I don't know if he ever made it out onto the course here tonight due to a technical issue. So there is Wylazinski parked in the infield grass. And we will get our podium interviewees up on in here. Got the likes of Indy and Dylan. You know what? We'll do something different. We'll start from the top. We'll start with Dylan. He's got his car nicely parked in the pit lane here. Look at that. We can give him a nice interview camera here. Look at that. All right. And then there's Dylan. We'll get him on up here. Dylan Wylazinski. Oh, sorry, Dylan.
No, you're good.
Dylan, Jacob Collins, Sophie Connell, P1 Broadcasting. I see you got us.
Yeah, hi guys. How you doing?
Pretty good. We opted to do something different. We opted to bring you up here first since, you've won here once again here in Indy NXT Oval Series competition from Myrtle Beach. Kind of talk us through. You had a bit of a moment there off turn 2, kind of in the middle portion of this race, and had to work your way back into it through a couple of restarts, make it back, the likes of Kevin Crotty to get to Taylor Thurman and ultimately make that pass on a late restart. Walk us through how you made it to the top step here tonight.
Well, I qualified not great by my standards, and I knew it was going to be really hard from that point because it's so hard to pass. And then at that midpoint, when I was trying to get under Thurman for the lead, I just hit the gas a little too hard, and the back end stepped out, and I thought for a split second that was probably the end of the race because I did that at Wilkesboro last season and a couple of times. I did all my races there. And I somehow managed to save it. I have to go back and watch without getting swallowed up by 3 different cars. And then once I got back to Thurman, I was just kind of seeing what he was doing, how he was taking his outer line. And I could see that he was pretty inconsistent with his upper line in 1 and 2, and I could use that to get up close to him. And then on that final restart where I got by him, I think he restarted in first, and he did it right in the middle of the turn, so he wasn't able to really get going. That let me get to his outside, and I just managed to wrap it around him.
Yeah, the big thing with short track racing, as I'm sure you well know with the sprint car background we know you have, is that every little mistake compounds so heavily. So it very much becomes a game of who can kind of see what those little mistakes are. And you talked about that high line inconsistency in 1 and 2 for you, or for Thurman, and we're able to make that move on him. So that certainly shows a lot of that experience that you have around tracks like this, and that's part of what I think we're going to see as we get to more of these shorter tracks, is some of those more minute experiences come into play. Sophie, you got anything for Dylan here tonight?
I was gonna say, Dylan, how are you feeling with all the restarts? There was a lot of chaos, a lot of contact with other cars, kind of resetting, kind of keeping everything in mental focus, especially given the mistake earlier, having to pass Taylor, and then once you did, how are you feeling about all those restarts? So especially given how you had so much leeway on when you could take the starts, what was your thought process each time?
Every time we got a restart, it was great because I don't think I would ever have been able to get past Taylor on a green flag run. I wasn't able to get all the way up to him. So I knew those restarts, trying to get a better launch than him, was my best opportunity to try and get by. Then once I got the lead, Taylor had been restarting, super early, and then he would have to like kind of hold mid throttle all the way through the corner to make sure he didn't spin out. So when I was up front, I would just restart right towards the little restart box and try to get as straight of a launch towards the line as I could, so I wouldn't have to worry about trying to not spin it out.
Well, certainly took advantage of every situation in which you found yourself here tonight. That's the making of winners. That's the makings of champions, and you've certainly put in a consistent bid so far this season. And are you 4 for 4? Can we get that clarified?
I do believe I am 4 for 4, yes.
All right. Well, Dylan's got the 100% club rolling strong a third of the way through the season. Dylan, you know how to do this very well. Friends, family, sponsors, anybody you want to shout out, floor is yours.
I'll shout out Get Good Racing and the Sprint Car Cup. They run 6 p.m., 8 p.m. Eastern every Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday. And I'll give a shout out to Taylor for not stuffing me in the wall when I was on his outside.
There we go. Thanking his competitors, thanking the community that helped build him into the driver he is today. We thank you once again for joining us up here in the booth, Dylan.
Absolutely. See you guys next week.
And that'll do it for Dylan Wylazinski, winner once again here tonight. We'll get Taylor Thurman's machine up on the screen as soon as we can track it down. He finishes second here tonight. Not sure if he's made it into the booth, but I want to make sure that he gets his due. I believe this is his first podium appearance, if not his first podium appearance in a while here from Myrtle Beach. Want to make sure he gets his due.
Yeah, unfortunately, he doesn't appear to be in the room waiting for an interview, but definitely a great performance from Taylor. Started on pole, did his best to hold off the seemingly inevitableness that is Dylan Wylazinski as best as possible, and had a thrilling battle with Indy Kirkwood, who finished third.
Looks like we're going to have shots of the cars gridded up for Mr. Thurman, but there's Taylor in his number 9 machine. He was the pole sitter tonight, led a good portion of the opening stage. He comes home second. Okay, we'll see if we could track him down and maybe get up in the booth later, but we'll bring Indy Kirkwood on up here because we know he's in here waiting to speak his piece. Bring it up on here. Indy Kirkwood, Jacob Collins, Sophie Connell, P1 Broadcasting. You got us?
Yeah, I got you.
Well, you certainly mounted a hard charge through the field after qualifying deep, 10 of 15 in the field tonight, up onto the podium. We saw you making a number of passes left, right, and center through the early stages, but ultimately coming up just short of that second place spot that it seemed like you very much were fighting for in the closing stages here tonight. Walk us through it.
Yeah, no, I was a lot faster than Taylor. It's just hard to pass someone when they're running the outside like that. I know we had at least a very close finish. So yeah, it was good, hard, clean racing. But yeah, we got up in the 5th the first couple laps. I don't know if they showed that, but I just put it on the top and it stuck, and it passed a bunch of cars there, and I think some of the people at the bottom checked up. So yeah, it was an interesting race to say the least.
Well, I certainly knew you were very much looking forward to this one, so it seems like it was a good race to kind of experience through working your way through the field, getting to hone those short track chops that I know you have. Sophie, what do you got for Indy here tonight?
Yeah, Andy, it's been a rough couple of weeks for you. How does it feel just have a good result in one of these broadcast races again after some hard licks and issues at USA with the side pod damage, and then of course the late accident at Phoenix?
Yeah, it at least feels good. My last at least 3 broadcast oval races, I've ended up in the infield care center, and the last 4 I've ended up with damage. So, yeah, it's just not been a good last couple weeks, and having all that not be my fault is really annoying. Getting sent to the infield care center last race was in IndyCar was very annoying, and to just be the hard charger in this race is fun. It was fun working through the pack, and I wish I wouldn't have screwed up my qualifying lap, because I was practicing times that I think would have been in the top 3, and I think me and Dylan would have able to had a good race if that would have happened. But it's still at least a podium.
Yeah, certainly hard to hang your head too low after charging through the field and showing that you had what it took to maybe even pick up a win here tonight, working your way from 10th to 3rd here, Indy. You know the drill. Friends, family, sponsors, anybody you want to shout out, floor is yours.
Yeah, my go-kart sponsors are Fremont Functional Fitness, BGM Marine Associates, The Alley and Clyde, Make Something on YouTube, Fort Ball Pizza Palace, Bayside Heating and Cooling. Thank you for putting the broadcast on, and thank you to Votive Racing. I know we got 1-2 in the last IndyCar SOF, so big night for them, and I think technically 3 podiums on a broadcast in one night. I think that's going to be the record for Votive Racing, so that's cool.
Certainly a big night for Votive Racing, but I don't know if it's going to be the biggest night for them all week, as obviously the Votive Racing League's putting on their inaugural round of the 4th running of the Votive Indy Derby this Sunday, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. I'm sure you, I, and many other drivers in attendance will be looking forward to that one, and we'll hope to catch you next week in Indy Next competition from Iowa Speedway and its legacy configuration.
Yeah, thanks. I'm glad it's Legacy next week, unlike the IndyCar. I wish they would have put Legacy for IndyCar, but yeah, I'm excited for that. I think it's going to be a lot better than the new Iowa that we had last season, so hopefully it'll be good.
You and I both looking forward to the Cornfield Indy. Thanks for joining us once again up here in the booth.
Yep, thank you.
That'll do it for the podium here tonight. We got news from Mr. Gary Yost that Taylor Thurman doesn't have a Discord, so he'll have to get one set up, but we will give him a bit more screen time to make up for him informing us that he'll hopefully catch us up here in the booth later on in the season. He's calling his shot. He's going to pick up another podium here before too long, surely. So that'll do it from Myrtle Beach. Quite an action-packed race. We saw battles pretty much all throughout the field, particularly once we got going on a longer green flag run. Sophie, what do you think? What do you think of tonight's race?
I think it was a quite fantastic race in a lot of ways. There was a lot of on-track passing. There was certainly some sparks flying. Glad it wasn't just between John Corwin and Clay Kirkenbauer, but it definitely was an interesting race. People getting their elbows out, but yeah, just good short track racing. Certainly look forward to Iowa. Hopefully we get more of the same.
Yeah, we've got the top 10 back up on the screen. We'll wish well to Indy's father, Clay. He had a rough go of it here tonight, finishing 25 laps down, but very much a action-packed event here from the short track in Myrtle Beach. We'll hopefully catch many more of these as we get through to the rest of the season. We've made it through the 1/3 mark of the season. I will run quickly through the host of other events we have for Indy Next Oval Series competition. As we mentioned, Iowa Speedway and its legacy configuration, the scan from 2011, will play a host to the 5th round next week. My home track on the schedule this season, the Milwaukee Mile, much like the Ohio State, as they like to call it. It's sorted by the letter T in the sim, so I'll give it the credit of being the Milwaukee Mile. We'll host round 6. Lucas Oil Indianapolis Raceway Park will play host to round 7, followed up by the New Hampshire Motor Speedway in round 8. North Wilkesboro in its modern configuration will play host to round number 9, with Worldwide Technology Raceway or Gateway playing host to round 10, alongside Richmond in round 11. And our season finale will take on the Tricky Triangle at Pocono, which will be an action-packed race for likely very different reasons than this one was. And I want to thank everybody for tuning in once more tonight. To all those that do the difficult jobs all around the world, we thank you very, very much for all that you do, allowing us to bring wonderful broadcasted races here on P1, Indy NXT, INDYCAR, and everything in between. We thank you very much, and we hope to catch you next time or later on tonight with Area 51 from Homestead. Thank you, everybody. Have a good night.